All right, it is 6 o'clock. It's time for the township board meeting for the budget hearings for year 2026. Present is myself, Ryan, trustee, board president Chris Berger, and board member Kyle Whiteman. First order of business I want to go through is the meeting minutes from last meeting that we held on August the 19th. I'm just going to review them real quick, and then I need you guys to go ahead and sign them so I can submit them to the State Board of Accounts. Meeting came to order at 5 p.m. Present was Ryan Shorey and board members Chris Berger and Kyle Whiteman. Not present was board member Jordan Fuller. Discussed moving the stones near the back of the park cemetery, referenced them not being easy to trim around. We also discussed fixing the fence on the south end of Park Cemetery, which has come down and is actually lying on a monument. I talked about probably taking care of that, when things get harvested and everything a little bit later this fall. Discussed purchasing some suction cups for the opening and closing of the columbarium that's been installed at Pleasant Hill Cemetery. That purchase has been made. Discuss increasing the budget for the fire department, the compensation, radios, and maintenance. Kyle made the motion to approve the budget increases, which was about $3,000 across the board on each of those. Seconded by Chris Berger, and the motion passed unopposed. At the meeting, we also discussed the adoption of the capital improvement plan that is now required by law in the state of Indiana. We'll get to a little bit more of that here in a bit. And the status of the old tanker that's down at the town dump. Email that needs to be sent out to the township trustees to offer it up to them as a first bid as is condition. And with there to be no further business before the board, the meeting was adjourned at 5:24 p.m. Any additions or corrections? All right, we'll go ahead and let them stand as read. So the first order of business here, I just want to go ahead and discuss just a little bit of some beginning cash balances, receipts, and disbursements that have been made so far this year. For the Township General Fund,
what page are we on?
We are on page 4. So this was as of the ending cash balances on June the 30th of 2025. It says Bourbon Township, Marshall County Cash Fund Statement at the top.
Might not have a page 4.
Well, here, I got another. Here, you can look at this one here. I'll grab this one here.
In the wrong 101. Oh, they're not numbered. You're just going.
Yeah, I was just counting.
Okay, I was going to say I was looking for number 4. There we go. Okay.
All right. So, rainy day fund. Nothing's actually been used out of that so far this year, which is kind of the purpose. Receipts into the general fund this year have been $103,593.39, and we've dispersed $10,000 more than that for an ending cash balance $285,354 and some change. As you can see, the township assistance here, we've receipted in like $5,800 and dispersed a little over $10,000. I think that number is only going to go up as we move into the next year with prices and everything going up. I just foresee that jumping.
Yeah.
Here's the big one on the township fire account. We received in $17,400 and some change and dispersed $62,900 and some change. That has brought our cash balance down to $66,458. And we'll get to how we're going to replenish that here in just a few.
Was that on?
A majority of that was on the new
tanker
truck.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Township Emergency Medical Fund, nothing has come out of that. That fund is still established just in case at some point that we have to reestablish and start paying for the emergency medical services. And the Cume Fire, that is also a majority of it has been for the truck. We've dispersed about $15,000 out of that, but we remain pretty healthy as far as the ending cash balance with over $280,000. So that's kind of where we stand. Those are the cash balances as of June the 30th of this year. So then the next set of papers you should have, it's a little bit thicker. This is the budget estimate for year 2026. So the first one that we're looking at right here is the Township Road and Infrastructure Fund. So this is the fund that was established by law, House Bill 1461, that basically says, if I remember correctly, it says basically any unused funds in your budget up to about 30% have to be moved to this fund at the end of the year if they are not spent. So this had to be established. That's why it's showing a cash balance of $1 in it right now. But next year, we're not planning on putting any money. We have no budget estimate for 2026 because we won't know till the end of next year if we actually have to move any money. The next one is the rainy day fund. The 2026 budget estimate, which is 3/4 the way down the page, is $253,928. And that is including putting in $90,960 from the general fund this year. So that's what we're planning on having in the rainy day fund next year. Also, to expand on that just a little bit, since we depleted our township fire account, the budget consulting guy that I work with suggested that we pay for a majority of the fire department bills, and some cemetery improvements out of the rainy day fund, since that's pretty much what it's been established for. So that's what the plan is for the rest of this year, and probably a majority of next year as well. Okay, going on to the general fund, 3/4 of the way down the page, the budget estimate for that next year is $353,400. So basically, we're just kind of running through the numbers here, and as long as nobody has any objections to any of these numbers so far, we'll just keep on pushing. The next one is going to be the Township Assistance Fund. We're expecting, probably by the end of this year to have it to about $51,000. If we're planning on budgeting $39,000 for it next year, that's a pretty substantial increase. I think it was $25,000 that we advertised this year. But again, anymore, and this is one thing that I do want to revisit at the next meeting that we have, is establishing some guidelines on assistance. The only reason is that the old $300 limit that we've been enforcing for a number of years at this point is almost null and void. There's times that people will show up $800, $1,200 behind, and I understand it's just assistance, but $300 isn't gonna necessarily get them too far. So my only point in that is it's gone from about $600 to where $300 would cut it in half. Now it's getting to be $900 to $1,100, and that $300 doesn't go as far. I'm not suggesting that we go $600 on a $1,200 bill, but if it's $450, if it's $300, and then half again, because if not, the lights at some point are still going to be shut off.
Yeah.
And I still do give them alternative, like Link to Hope, United Way, Salvation Army, but they're all going to be strapped for cash also. So that's one reason I want to revisit that for this upcoming year. Going on to the township fire budget. This is the one that we're going to have to reestablish quite a few funds. I'm only anticipating $62,000 in that budget estimate, with the remaining amount that we're going to need pulling that from the rainy day fund. Probably try not to touch this budget at all if we can help it. That way we can get it back up over $100,000 probably by the end of next year. After that, we have the Township Emergency Medical Services. Again, this is simply established in case we ever have to start paying for emergency medical services again. So 105,000 is what we have budgeted in there, just in case something was to come up next year, and we actually have to start paying for the services that are rendered to the township. The cumulative fire fund is the next fund to look at. Anticipating $240,000 being budgeted for that next year. Again, that's pretty standard, because as of right now, we have a cash balance of $280,000 in that account, so that one's still pretty healthy. And then last but not least, moving on to the recreation. This takes in a very small amount of tax dollars a year. It's $1,000 like it always has been. Again, if Little League comes to us this year and they want some sponsorship or they want this and that, that's what budget this would come out of. That's pretty much what the budget is looking like for next year. Are there any questions on that at all? Pretty straightforward. And so then the last thing that we have to tackle here is the Township Capital Improvement Plan. Okay, so this is just as foreign to me as it is to you guys, since it's the first year that we've had to do this. So it says 1/1 of 2027, the adjusted balance, $42,389. It says adjusted balance for rainy day is zero. In general is negative $42,389. This means that we show no funds being eligible for transfer to the Township Roads and Infrastructures Fund. So that's what that means at this point. So basically, we're not going to have any funds eligible at the end of this year or starting out at the beginning of next year that have to go to that capital improvement fund. And then we are showing a projection of 2027. It says committed to a township's capital improvement plan. So this is on the third page of $50,000. So what we have done there is that's for cemetery improvements. That's probably going to be for some like headstone repair, things of that nature. I know that we've also spent quite a bit out of the general fund this year for the cemetery, so that could also be help to recoup some money for some mowing, however we deem it necessary to be used, probably strictly for the cemeteries. So what we're showing again is our project is exceeding the cash balance estimate. So again, there will be no money left to move to the town town and infrastructure fund. And then on the next to last page, this is just showing the types of capital improvements that we are talking about. So for 2026, and this is only if we can get it done, cemetery repairs and paving, $100,000. That's if we wanted to do Park Cemetery this year, and if we wanted to start on some stone repair, we can use some of that money. And then the only expenditure that we have planned for next year is $50,000, and that's budgeted strictly for probably the stone repair, which we've been talking about doing for a number of years. And I think, getting a hold of this Arnett monument cleaning, I've seen a lot of work that he's done around. Let's just hit the ground running on it and start on probably the North Cemetery out at Mount Pleasant, because that definitely has a lot of stones that have been knocked over. And I think that's a great place to start. We'll start a little small with it, just to see how the work is, and we have to see what the cost
one of the other
is going to
things
end up
that
being for it as well.
I'd like to see us look at, I know we've talked about it in the past, but is Ganshorn getting a monument out there?
Getting a monument put up there.
Because, it just keeps getting worse and worse shape out there.
Mm-hmm.
If we could get with the Historical Society, see if we could pull some names that they would have on records and put up a monument like we did
Like
out
they
the
have
old
out here
Bourbon,
at the old Bourbon
the
Cemetery.
old Bourbon Cemetery. I'd like to see something get done like that.
And
Because
I think with that $100,000 that we're even talking about this year, that's something that we could use that towards.
Yeah. Well, I can't see that a headstone engraving the names on, I can't see that it would be that expensive.
No.
You know,
I don't think so.
I can't see it more than 20,000.
No.
You know, something like that.
It'd be a good way to spend
You know.
those funds.
Yeah. But, you know, that's something that I'd like to see done out there, that, you know, those headstones are they're just like the ones out at Mount Pleasant.
They're
You know, the old sandstone.
they're just crumbling away.
They're just.
And I guess to update some folks, if they're not 100% familiar, US 30 and 12B Road, there's a half-acre cemetery back there. It's very old. It's been there for a very long time. A majority of those are sandstone, and a good majority, probably 60%, are broken. We've discussed over the years, you know, maybe trying to reset them. The only issue, and I don't want to speak for everybody here, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the only issue is that at this point we don't even know where the stones came from or where they're going to have to go.
They've been moved.
They've been propped up against trees.
Yeah.
I think it'd be more disrespectful to put a stone in the wrong place instead of
to have a centralized headstone with everybody's name
right at the front,
that way
where it belongs.
Yeah, because you can't read anything now. They're so far gone.
So that's all that I pretty much had for the meeting. We don't have to sign any paperwork until the 23rd, which that meeting is also at 6 p.m. And with there being no public here, I hear no objections to the budget as it's been stated. So if there's no further business for the board, I would make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
My second.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6:17 p.m.
Yeah, we talked about that.